My goodness, has it been a strange week? I've actually been struggling with vertigo this past week, dizziness because of some inner ear stuff, and I'll tell you what, I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life. To be totally honest, even while I'm sitting right here with my Bible on my lap and speaking to you, things are a little bit swimmy. And the swimminess leads to nausea, and at times, like the room will begin to kind of spin-ish to the point where I eventually have to grab a hold of something, lean on it, or even just grab a hold of the person that's next to me. But I've noticed it's not even just the balance that I've needed to walk from one room to another at times. It's also like my brain isn't gathering together all of my words and thoughts in ways that I typically am used to the point where yesterday I was leading a meeting with our team, and I was having to wear sunglasses because the lights in the room were kind of making my head dizzy. And halfway through, I finally just said, "Am I speaking in complete sentences?" I said, because I'll be honest, my brain just feels like it's having a hard time like linking with my eyes and linking with my thoughts, and it's just been a strange week. Frankly, it's been pretty scary. It's one of those moments whenever I'm reminded of how much, when something is going on in my physical body, how much it can affect my heart and my emotions and my mind and my spirit. When something is happening in the body that you can't control, it's moments like those where you're not just humbled, but you're reminded that you are in desperate need of others. You are in desperate need of another. You're in desperate need of something outside of yourself to bring you stability, to bring you groundedness, to complete you. I know it might be strange or maybe cliche or a little corny, but with all of the dizziness and stuff going on this past week, my heart and my mind this morning were on Psalm 26, verse 12. My feet stand on level ground. Because I'll be honest with you, it has not felt like a very level ground this past week. It has felt like the ground is betraying me or playing tricks on me. But this final verse of this Psalm of David is a fascinating one because of how he moves through the text. Let's start in verse 1. He says, "Vindicate me, Lord. Please, will you please say that you're proud of me?" Or justify this next declaration, which is bold, because he says, "For I have led a blameless life. I have trusted in the Lord and have not faltered." I'll be honest, I don't know if I would have the ability and good conscience to pen that verse myself. But it's this trust in the Lord, trust in something that is outside of him, that has sustained David, that has pushed him and helped him and caused him to persevere in the face of many difficulties. Verse 2, "Test me, Lord, and try me. Examine my heart and my mind." I'll be honest, if I had a hard time writing down verse 1, I have a real hard time writing down verse 2. I don't know that I want a test from the Lord. I don't know that I want him to try me or examine my heart and mind. In verse 3, he says this, "For I have always been mindful of your unfailing love and have lived in reliance on your faithfulness." That's been something I've been tested with this past week. Whenever my body betrays me, is unfaithful to what it is that I thought we agreed upon, how does that affect my trust in the faithfulness of God? Verse 4, "I do not sit with the deceitful, nor do I associate with hypocrites. I abhor the assembly of evildoers and refuse to sit with the wicked. I wash my hands in innocence and go about your altar, Lord, proclaiming aloud your praise and telling all of your wonderful deeds." This past week, whenever I was struggling spiritually because of my struggle physically, I found one thing that always brought me back, that always called me back to somewhat of a center. And it was remembering what it is I'm grateful for. what it is that I am want to express gratitude to God for, like my wife and my kids, frankly, my calling, the different type of blessings that oftentimes I take for granted, but I especially overlook whenever I'm in a time of physical strain. Lord, I love the house where you live, the place where your glory dwells. Do not take away my soul along with sinners, my life with those who are bloodthirsty, in whose hands are wicked schemes, whose right hands are full of bribes. I lead a blameless life. Deliver me and be merciful to me. And then David ends the psalm like this: My feet stand on solid ground. In the great congregation, I will praise the Lord. What I love most about the way that this psalm ends is that it's a psalm that is filled of all kinds of evaluations of David's own individual abilities or own individual accomplishments, things and ways in which he has worked hard to be able to stand before the Lord in a blameless way, not associating with evil and not doing the evil himself, but the way in which he describes verse 12, his feet standing on level ground. He does it in the presence of others. In the great congregation, the church, I will praise the Lord, the Holy Trinity. I was reminded this week that level ground only can be truly experienced in the company of those that are serving the Lord alongside of you. For at times my son would be helping me with my physical therapy as I was trying to make sure that my eyes were following the ball that we were passing back and forth. I needed him to once again reestablish level ground. I needed the physical therapist. I needed the walls of the home that the God has provided me graciously to steady my walk on level ground. I needed others around me, and I needed the Lord to not just increase my ability to physically stand without the room spinning, but to also provide a level ground for my heart, for my mind, and for my spirit. Here's my challenge for you this week. What's your level ground? Sure, you can list all kinds of things like David of individual accomplishments, but ultimately it gets to a point where if you do not understand how your accomplishments integrate with the community around you, you will not be able to sing verse 12 with David. My feet stand on level ground. In the great congregation, I will praise the Lord. I love you guys. Have a good week.